Oh, wait a minute, that's our cue. We're starting. Okay. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you all for coming to the conference and coming out early on a Wednesday morning after the fun party last night to hear a little bit about e-business and see a live demonstration of our products working together. My name is Mark Neuman. I'm part of the North America technical team. I've been with IBM for almost 28 years and have been with Lotus for forever, it seems like. I've been to Lotus Spheres and IBM Connect and ConnectED over the years. So I enjoy this conference. So again, thank you all for coming. I want to introduce Bryan Daniels, my partner in crime today, presenting.
Yep, good morning. My name is Bryan Daniel. I've been with IBM for about 15 years, and I'm also part of the North America technical team.
Great, thanks. So we have a very, very full agenda today. We have one chart, and the rest will be demonstrations. So if you've ever seen Bryan and myself present, we like to have a lot of fun. I have my tennis shoes on. It will be fast-paced, but we love to get questions. So if you see something you like and want to, hey, I got a question about that, just raise your hand, go, yo, Mark, and we'll answer your question. So that's how we know there's a question out there. Just raise your hand and go, yo, Mark. So on the count of three, we're going to practice this. So on the count of three, go, yo, Mark. 1, 2, 3. Now, Bryan's here because it's a really technical question. Your answer should be, yo, Bryan, for the really hard questions. So let's try yo, Bryan on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. So you got it. Easy questions, Mark. Technical questions, Bryan. We're all on the same page because I know it is early on a Wednesday. Okay, so let's actually get into the demonstration here. My sons and I were watching a mini-series on TV called The Men That Made America. It was riveting. It really went through the business leaders, the Carnegies, the J.P. Morgans, the Rockefellers, and really went through how these businessmen viewed the world and changed it with their business philosophy. So if you're not familiar with Andrew Carnegie, he's a very successful businessman, and he based his business knowledge and his business success on one thing. And this is the quote that I really love. The only irreplaceable capital an organization possesses is the knowledge and ability of its people. The productivity of that capital depends on how effectively people share their competence with those who can use it. That's what social business is. How your employees share their knowledge with other employees dictates the success of your corporation. And in fact, in the social business world, that now extends past your employees into your customers. How well you share your information and knowledge about your company with your customers makes them salespeople for you and extends this sharing of capital and makes everyone more successful at your business. So throughout our demonstration today, our goal is to show you how your employees can become more productive by sharing this knowledge inside your company. When Bryan and I were working on our agenda, we said, well, what should we put together? And I kind of thought, well, instead of Bryan and I guessing at what we think businesses need, we actually looked at a survey that was done saying, what do businesses need in this social world? So our agenda today is actually built on feedback from customers, thousands of them from around the world. We're going to talk about customer loyalty, how I, using social business, can build brand affinity. Customers love the brand so much that they become your salesperson and drive more revenue. We're going to talk about that today in our demonstration. We're then going to talk about support. Well, once you hook this customer, how do you give them Class A support so they really feel like they're part of the family? So we're going to talk about that in our demonstration today. Then we're going to start figuring out, well, if I'm starting to do some things, is it working? My father always taught me from little on, if you can't measure it, don't do it. I'm going to repeat those words to you. I worked a lot in services in my early career, and I cannot tell you how many times we just did it because we think it's the right thing to do. Did it work? Did you measure it? So again, if you can't measure it, don't do it. So we're going to talk to you how you can measure social business to make sure it's a quantified ROI and is making a difference in your company. Because trust me, Carnegie did not pass knowledge because it was the right thing to do. He knew it was the right thing to do because he could measure the success of his businesses. And we'll show you that today. Crowdsourcing ideas. How do I start sharing this knowledge that Carnegie talks about? How do I enable someone in a factory floor, or someone in sales, or someone in marketing to start sharing their knowledge easily with other people in your organization? How do I, in sales, know what the manufacturing inventory people are struggling with? I'm going to show you that today, and so will Bryan. And the goal is to make money. So hopefully when you walk away from here saying, wow, this is good for my business because, hey, we're going to make money, because that's why you're here. You're here to make your business more profitable and successful. And last but not least, we're going to talk about collaboration tools, because you know what? What is the plumbing, the secret sauce you're going to need to enable your company to be more Carnegie-like, more social, and we'll show you that today. So that's our one chart that kind of talks about why social business. But when you walk away from this session, remember two words, and hopefully Bryan and I will show this really well in our demonstrations. It better look easy, because if it's not easy for your customers or your employees, they aren't going to do it. And it better be powerful. It better make a difference, because you're going to invest money, time, in your staff, and training and equipment to get this out there, so it better be powerful enough to make a difference, but it better be easy for adoption. So here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to spend the first part of the demonstration going through the day in the life of a customer. We're going to show that brand loyalty. We're going to show customer support. We're going to show all that kind of stuff. Then we're going to flip it and say, well, how does an employee now work with their customers to be a social business? So Bryan, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you'll start us off with the employee version.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mark. So again, what we're going to be doing in this first part of the agenda is taking a look from the customer's journey, right? So we're going to start a little bit high, work our way through. After I finish the customer journey and we come up with some action items, Mark is going to take a look from the employee perspective, and then he'll turn it back over to me, and I'll go a little bit deeper and talk about how some of this stuff was built behind the scenes and some additional action items that can be done. So as I go through this, it'll take about 10 minutes. Keep a couple of things in mind. One, remember that chart, why social business? What we're going to try to show is how can we drive brand affinity, and how can we provide customer service and support. To do this, we're going to be using a fictitious Greenwell sporting goods site. You're going to be seeing some personalized content. You're going to be seeing some real-time customer support, and you're going to see the ability for that customer to provide a feedback, to have a two-way conversation. So although the site is delivering products and services, it's not just sending it and trying to sell something to the user. They're actually trying to get some feedback from the user as well. And based on what feedback is gathered from that user, when we turn around and look at it from an employee perspective, you'll see in Mark's demo how he can use that information to analyze and come up with some action items to improve the experience. Okay, so let's begin. And what we're going to be doing is taking a look. Notice that we start the site, everybody's probably familiar with that, with a Facebook or social site. And the reason we started on a social channel is because, quite frankly, a lot of the information comes from word of mouth and comes from a social channel, right? And we have the capabilities and the tools to publish this information out to these social channels. And once the user, whether they've gathered that information from Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or many of the other ones, any of the information that they're seeing, Mountain Man Deluxe, the best running and climbing watch, some of the other information that you're seeing on the site, that matches up with what they were seeing on those social channels. It's all consistent. We're able to deliver the information out to Facebook, but at the same time deliver it out to the website so that the user is seeing the same information.
Hey, Bryan, is that out of the box to do that?
Everything's out of the box. And actually, as a matter of fact, one of the things to point out, as we built this demonstration, I think almost everything that we've done was fairly out of the box, mainly configuration, meaning I did not have to sit down and do any development or Java coding. It came down to configuring and making these parts work together, right? So that's actually a pretty powerful statement in itself. I think, at least for me, the hardest part was trying to make this stuff look good, because if you're not a designer, it can be challenging sometimes. But some of the other information on this site, you'll see expert knowledge. You'll see some products, featured products. Where is this stuff coming from? The expert knowledge, that's coming either can be from customer knowledge that was shared. It can be from employees that are experts in this specific area. The products can be coming from a back-end commerce engine. So we have the capabilities of using something like a digital data connector to pull this information into the site. But where it really gets interesting is you notice when the customer starts to log in or starts to authenticate or starts to provide information. We know that this person logging in happens to be Harry Green. Guess what he loves to do? He likes what I like to do, although I'm not very good at it, is play golf. So we're able to start to change the site, change the experience, create an adaptive engagement. So everything, including the look and feel, the information that's delivered, even the products and features, and some of the social capabilities is geared around Harry's passion for golf. The videos that you're seeing, just to kind of highlight some of the technology, some of the video that's coming is streaming over content delivery networks such as Brightcove. The expert advice, you notice it's a very subtle change, but it has changed. So now Harry is seeing things that's really of interest to him. And observe that we showed some of the social information up front before he got down to the products that's actually being sold. Now, what catches the customer's eye? Harry wants to know why do golf balls have dimples on it? We thought that was kind of interesting because, why do golf balls have dimples? It's to help with the trajectory and speed if you wanted to know. But he's looking at this information. How was it created? It was actually created through experts. And I'll show you in the third part of the demo how easy it is to create this information. Harry's looking at this. He sees that, yes, it's information that's of interest to him, but he can also see trending discussions around that topic. Any information that's being discussed from other customers, any information that's being contributed by other golf fans are being provided. Think about when you're looking to buy products and services, or think about when you're looking to purchase something. You ever go to a site and you're looking at a product and you think it's what you want, but then you start looking at some of the reviews or some of the ratings, and it either helps you make a decision that you want that, or it might turn you away? That's very important. It's very powerful. And by being able to surface that up on the site, being able to take some control over those discussions helps the business gather the information so that when we see in the later parts of the demo, we could gather all that information and decide what's working, what's not working, where do we have to improve, and how can we keep moving forward. So Harry is actually pretty happy with what he sees, and he's going to share some information himself. Remember this whole idea about turning customers into loyal customers, brand advocates? How do you do that? You allow them to actually contribute back to the site, to provide feedback, to provide rating capabilities. And in this case, Harry's actually doing this. What's the technology behind the scenes? What are you seeing here? You're seeing the digital experience site. You're seeing some of the information that's being managed from our connection server surfaced up on the site. Right? So behind the scenes, you might have gone to other sessions. You might have seen some of the blogging and forum discussions, some of the file sharing. It's the same technology just being used in a customer-facing way. Now, Harry's looking at this. He's seeing some discussion around these hailstorm iron clubs. So keep hailstorm iron clubs in the back of your mind, because that's what we're going to be focusing on for this part of the demo. He navigates over to the product site, and the first thing he sees, of course, is some additional golf channels. He also sees the ability to chat with somebody. How do you continue to engage the customer? How do you continue to create a social experience? Yes, it's by creating those recommendations, discussions, being able to share your experience, but also being able to reach the experts when you need them, whenever you need them. And this does include things such as chatting with your advisor. Again, something I think we all do. Something you ever go to sites, I think a lot of times we all dread having to maybe go to the store to get some information or actually pick up the phone and call somebody. But in this case, using our built-in technology that's part of the suite, we can reach the expert. How is this done? This chat portlet, this is something that's available in our catalog. We just added it on to the environment. It's not just a basic chat. It's able to actually determine, hey, this is Harry. It's able to link Harry up with his assigned advisor or expert. And if that expert isn't available, it's able to determine who from a set of pools, who from a group is available to talk to Harry. So it's not just blindly connecting him with somebody, it's connecting him with somebody that's going to be able to create that relationship and answer his questions. And as the demo went on, Harry was interested in those hailstorm iron clubs. So he actually talked to the advisor, and the advisor pointed him to those hailstorm iron clubs. And he goes ahead and takes a look at it. Now, where are these products and where's this stuff coming from? Well, of course, now we're getting into an area into the commerce-related site, right? We're looking at products. We might buy one, add one to the shopping cart. we have the capability to surface up commerce-related data into the portal or into the digital experience. Various patterns and methods for doing that. What you're seeing here is the commerce-related data just being surrounded by social data and additional content. Right? So this is just content that includes ratings. It includes tag clouds, so Harry can quickly find related information that he needs. As a matter of fact, all the tagging, you could tag products, pages, comments, everything can be tagged. So we could quickly find related information. And as we wrap up here, and Harry navigates back to the homepage, the last thing he wants to do after looking at some expert knowledge, after talking with the chat advisor, after being able to find a product that he needs, he's not yet really ready to make that purchase decision. He's hanging out for a little bit more, but he decides he wants to leave some feedback. Here's another example of how you could use some additional technology such as Forms Experience Builder. This gives the ability for users to create form applications, embed them into the experience. This is just one way that we're doing this, to gather feedback from the customer. Where is this going? This feedback is going to be gathered, stored, and as part of one of the many data sources that Mark's going to be using to start doing some analysis. Right? So think about the feedback that he added, think about what he was doing on the site, think about what he was doing on the form itself. And you're going to see Mark using some of that data to slice and dice and start making some decisions on what we need to do. So with that, Mark, I'll turn it back over to you.
Great. Thanks, Bryan. So Bryan really answered the first question. So if you looked at what we talked about early in our agenda, the survey was done by thousands of customers looking at e-business was customer loyalty, customer support, brand affinity. Hopefully Bryan kind of showed you with the Greenwell Sports site how we kind of build a compelling site with all the socialness in it. Socialness, is that a word? We're not going to change gears, though, and go back to Carnegie's knowledge. He says competency, sharing competent employees is #1 for a successful company. You need two things to do that. You need to give the tools to your employees to create that knowledge to share, and more importantly, you need easier tools to consume knowledge for other employees, and we're now going to step into that. So Frank right here is actually a sales guy, and he really has heard some things about the Hailstorm irons from some of his suppliers and some customers. He's thinking there's something wrong with the product line. It's not flying off the shelves the way he wants to. So he needs to figure out how he can start delving into the Hailstorm Irons Challenge and see what's up. So the first thing he's going to do is log into the Greenwell Sports intranet based on the exact same technology that the public-facing site is, so that we have a lot of reuse. So you bring this up right now, and he now sees his homepage. And over there on the left side is what I call the dictatorship. I am the corporation. I need to get information to my employees in a dictatorship way. I'm going to force it on them. On the left side, on this intranet side, is all the news that I'm pushing on there. In the middle section, though, is I need to give Frank the ability to actually start saying, well, this is information I need to do my job. I need to pull information. So how do we do that? Out-of-the-box functionality with our internet site here using IBM Webster Portal. I, as Frank, can just pick what topics I'm interested in, what competencies I need knowledge on to do my job, and I can pick those. Over on the right side, I might have some training videos. Again, sharing knowledge, sharing competency. We're actually streaming this from the cloud with our partner Brightcove, out-of-the-box functionality. I can now instantly give training videos to anyone in my corporation, from the plant floor people to maybe someone in marketing that's out there. So again, out-of-the-box functionality. So Frank's really doing pretty well. He's now going to ratchet it up, though. This is called the activity stream. So on his intranet portal site, everything that's happening in his company is being fed to him. For example, that there's a marketing plan coming out for the new camping tents. Frank knows about it instantly. You know what? There's a campaign here, a new presentation on marketing. Here's one about our new retail store business. So basically, the activity stream is pushing knowledge to Frank real time, just what he needs. Again, making him more of a smarter employee. So what he's really thinking is, I got this hailstorms problem. I need help. So what's he normally do? Does he call up Bryan? Does he call up his friend? Does he email 5 buddies? No. He actually adds to the activity stream things he's working on, letting the whole corporation know about it, and maybe someone will actually reach out to him to help him. How revolutionary is that? I'm not looking for help. I'm pushing it out there, and people are now going to start coming to me using that technology. I'm now using the knowledge of my company to help me out. So, and I went too fast here. So the next thing is, while I'm waiting for that to bubble up, I might want to do some more searching. So I'm going to use expertise location. I'm still inside my intranet. I'm going to type marketing because we have a problem with a marketing problem with our hailstorm irons. I start typing the word marketing, and real time underneath it, it starts finding people that are marketing experts. Did they author a presentation? Have they blogged about something? Have they actually helped other people? So all that knowledge is sitting there in our connection systems, and now I'm able to mine that knowledge and bring it forward. So Frank can figure out who actually is the right person to talk to, and I think Heather Reeds is a good person, but I don't know her from Adam. So I'm going to click on it, bring up her profile, and voila, I now know everything about Heather Reeds in 5 seconds or less. So basically, I know her title. On the left side, what people have tagged her as. So the Carnegie thing is, this is her competencies on the left. On the right, I see the org chart, so I know exactly where she is in the business. I see content she has authored, like this cool Why Content Marketing Fails, why not to make those mistakes. So again, I can really look at that information and instantly have that at my fingertips in my intranet. I happen to look at that presentation. I can like it. I can actually follow it. This is key. In Carnegie's world, it's not just what you know, but how you share it. This is how you start sharing knowledge. I like that presentation. I flag it. Everyone in my company now who follows me sees that. I start following in case she makes changes, I'm notified of it. That's how you start sharing these competencies. It's just that easy for her to do. So remember, powerful and easy, that's easy by clicking like. I've now made other people aware of Heather Reeds just that fast. So that looks pretty good that's out there. Now, Frank, though, doesn't live his life in the office. He is a go guy. He's in sales. Every one of us in sales has what? Has an iPhone. I always like to say, put the information where the end user's eyes are. So guess what? He can do the exact same things that we talked about right on his iPhone. We have an application now. I can do all the expertise location and look at that same stuff. There it goes. So I click on the Connections application for the iPhone, and voila, there's my activity stream. I'm working on the top there, working on the marketing of the hailstorm irons. So again, I broadcast that to the company. Everyone now on their mobile devices sees what's going on in the company. If I'm looking for marketing help, I can do the exact same thing. I go up to the top thing on my iPhone. I can now search on marketing, and the same results are coming back on my mobile device. Whenever you build an application, think about where are the eyes of my end users. And trust me, they're everywhere. So you better have a solution that can put the information there. So there's Heather Reeds, the same exact profile information that's out there. There's all the information that we looked at before on the browser base, but now it's all being done on the iPhone. Thanks. Mm-hmm. I get a little wound up. Anybody have coffee this morning? I get a little excited. Okay, so let's go back now. So I happened to catch something out of my eye, and I happened to see that Heather Reed says, you know what, there's some great survey information. So Bryan showed you how Harry Green filled out a survey. Well, what is in that data? How can I view that? Again, our company intranet gives me access to every bit of knowledge in our company because it's a social business. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on that survey and see what's out there. So I'm now going into IBM Forms results from that survey, just that easily. And voila, I now as an end user can start mining the data of those survey results. I look at it and I say, wow, things are looking pretty good. So I can kind of hover over this. This is out-of-the-box functionality. Did you see me log into the IBM Forms response package? No, single sign-on, easy to use for your end users. You know what? I can make this a bar chart if I want. I can look at real number data, so I can look at the table data and drill into it that way. What I really want to do is I want to bring it into, let's say, an Excel spreadsheet and massage the data and bring it into a presentation I'm going to present to my boss. So I look at the real responses. I'm going to export this into Microsoft Excel right from inside our company intranet. I push one button. It opens up Microsoft Excel, pulls all the thousands of responses that are out there for the survey, brings it into my tool, and voila, I can now start using this data in my presentation. You know what? I decided I want to save this and work on it later. Where would you save this normally? On your hard drive? Would you email it to a friend? Wouldn't it be great if I could add it right back into the social capital of the company? So guess what? We've integrated right into Microsoft Office products, all the integration into our social intranet. So I can now go up here and actually save that back into an activity, a wiki, a community, or just save it inside our corporate intranet as a file, customer survey. I'm going to share it with, again, Carnegie, share it with everybody. And with one click of a button from Excel, I've taken the sales survey data and pushed it out into our intranet. So its upload's pretty successful. Life is good. And it's now out there, sitting out there. So I close that down. And we now go into my profile. So this is what other people would see. So when they look at me now in the company, they now see that spreadsheet that I've just added to the site. So basically, with pushing a button now, everyone that's following me will see that we have all this new survey data, and they can now work with it. You know what? I can share it with other people. I can like it. Other people can do the exact same thing. But let's take this to the next level. I want to actually edit it. I don't happen to have Microsoft Word on my devices. I have hundreds of employees that don't have it. With IBM Docs built into our intranet, all I got to do is click on that spreadsheet, click Enter, and automatically my browser now, I can start working right on that spreadsheet using IBM Docs. And I'm going to take the spreadsheet to a whole new level. As I'm looking at this data, I might want to start commenting on it and sharing my views of, by the way, I'm looking over here, and it says the hailstorm irons are hard to get used to. The hailstorm drivers rock, but the irons don't have a lot of distance. I'm starting to see some customer feedback here that we got some problems. So I'm going to start commenting on the left side so that other people in IBM Docs see this. We start having a dialogue, sharing our competencies about what our problem really is. So that's what I did on the left side right there. And I added that out there. Okay, now we're going to start ratcheting this up. So basically, survey data is easy. You control the source, you created the survey, and you control what and then when you get the data in, you can look at it. But I need to take it to the next level. I need to start mining the data to find out what's really happening. Enter social analytics. We have a product out there called Big Insights. It's also integrated out of the box into our intranet. And what I can start doing now is with spreadsheet-like skills, I can start pulling order data from our back-end CRM system. So I'm now, within my intranet, pulling live data from my orders, part numbers, ship dates, pricing, quantity in the warehouse, and I'm bringing this in to my dashboard so I can start doing some real-time analysis of what's happening with the with the Hailstorms clubs. So right now, I'm actually looking at all of that kind of stuff right there inside our spreadsheet, inside of our intranet. And so what this now does is if you have spreadsheet skills, you can actually start pulling live data in with our Big Insights tool. But let's take it to the next step. What are customers saying about our products? So I want to add that to the mix. So in the same tool, I'm going to actually buy Twitter feeds, blog feeds, Facebook feeds, and I'm going to bring that now into my dashboard here. So I've bought feeds from the public internet, brought that in a spreadsheet tool, we call them big sheets, into my tool here on our public internet, on our intranet. And basically now if I look at it, I get things like, what are the products they're talking about? What was the source of the tweet? For example, looking at tweets here. Who was the person that tweeted about it? Are they male? Are they female? Where do they live? How old are they? So also I'm gathering social analytics about my products that people are interacting with on the public social networks. Tipping points. How many people do they have a follow? So if they tweeted something and they have one follower, I don't care. If they have 986, I might care. And then I'm also going to bring in the actual tweets of the person on the far right here. So I'm going to bring this into our Big Insights tool. Again, if you know how to do spreadsheets, you can do this. And I'm now going to start taking business data from inventory and sales, social data that I purchased off the internet, and I'm going to bring them together and start doing some product analysis using some Watson Analytics. So now I'm going to take all that data with our secret sauce, combine it together, and start giving you some social sentiment. So I now can bring up a graph as a salesperson, and I can start looking at what are the most positively viewed products via their high sales and customers love them and are tweeting about them. I can find out that, for example, the Stargazer tent is awesome. Our backpack are really good. The Polaris Sports are good. So I can find out what products are doing well. But what's our strategy? We think the Hailstorm irons are not doing well. Well, guess what? I now have proof of that. We've taken sales data, public sentiment data, and I can now tell you negative scales, the Lady Hailstorm titanium irons are not well. People hate them. They're not selling well. How did I get that information to Frank? By creating a knowledge center in our intranet using Big Insights. I now have some actionable data using different backends and bringing it together. Okay, So let's dig down one level deep. Now, let's really start looking at the sales data to see what we actually are dealing with here. So inside our intranet here, I'm now bringing up all of our sales data real time into our Cognos tool, which is really a business insight tool for sales. And this is all the sales data of all of our products. I'm in our intranet yet, so think about this. I started showing basic news of video. I then went into some expertise lookup. I then looked at some documents. I edited a document. I looked at social sentiment. I'm now looking at live sales data. And how many times have I logged in? Once. Well, how many websites have I went to? One. That's powerful and easy. So now let me drill into my hailstorm irons here. So this is a live report coming from our back-end sales. I'm going to drill into the hailstorm irons. And I can start seeing that the sales really aren't doing that well, especially for the lady hailstorm irons. I need to act on this data. And that's the key thing in Carney's world is, if you know something but don't share it or act on it, it does your corporation no good. So what I'm now going to do is I can start using connections activities with my sales data. So I can first off say, are other people looking at the same sales data I am? So within our social intranet here, I can see that the marketing plan for the tents is looking at our data. Inventory challenges in Europe are looking at their data. I need to set up a new activity here saying we got a problem with hailstorm irons and start working on this. So I'm going to go back up to our sales data. I'm going to now click Create a Connections Activity right from here. So again, where your eyes are is where you want your employees to do their work. I'm going to create a brand new activity called Marketing Sales Challenges for the Hailstorm Irons.
You're doing good.
You doing okay? Mm-hmm. Okay. Any questions so far? I get a little fast in the morning. I'll make sure you keep up. Okay. So the hailstorm marketing irons. I'm going to add people to the boat. So here's where we really start making a difference in your company with this technology is I don't want to work on this problem by myself. Heather Reeds, I found out, is an expert, so I'm going to add her to my activity and start assigning her to-dos and sharing knowledge with her. So I'm going to add Heather Reeds to the boat. I type in what the activity goal is, but I could add 1 person, 2 people, 5 people, and they're automatically included in this project now with me to solve the hailstorm irons problem. So basically that's it. All I got to do is click Save, and voila, I've now created an activity in Connections, tied it back to this Cognos report sitting in my intranet just that easily. And if I refresh the screen, anyone else now looking at this now sees the other projects that are associated with this Cognos sales data. How many people thought that was pretty easy but yet powerful? A couple of you? Okay. Okay. So let's go back and look at this now. So let's actually drill into that activity and see what was created for me magically. I go into the activity, and there's the actual Cognos report. So anyone now that is part of my activity, like H. Reeds or, what's her name? Not Helen, it's Heather Reeds. Okay. If she clicks on that link, it'll automatically go to that report. How many remember that survey data I created, right? Remember that survey? I saved that survey data. It's sitting in my files, but that does no one good if it's sitting in my files. I want to add it to this activity. So I'm going to this activity for hailstorm irons. I'm going to add the survey data saying, look at the data, look at the responses. People are dissing our product. So I'm now including this data for Heather Reeds right into that by attaching that file as a link, not copying it, not moving it, but it's still in my files. But I'm now easily adding that right to that activity. So I'm starting to gather knowledge about this project for us to work on. And then again, you don't want to mark it private. You want to actually notify people. So I'm going to notify Heather that she needs to start looking at some of this information. Okay, so now in my activity, I have 2 things in there. I got the link back to the Cognos report. I got my survey data sitting right there. And I start looking at this, taking it to the next level again. Well, what happens if I happen to be in Lotus Notes and I'm working on this project? So again, whenever you build a system, remember, wherever your employees or customers' eyes is where you need your data. You need your information. Well, guess what? Some people live in browsers. Some people live on their phone. There are still people that use mail as their main lifeblood. How many people still use mail and check that first thing every morning? Everybody, right? So guess what? When I'm inside Lotus Notes, for example, or Verse, as you saw, or other products we'll get to in a second, I have the same view of the world. So basically, I have my email sitting out there. On the top right, I've integrated, all my chatting stuff that Bryan showed you earlier with same time. But you know what? If I go to my Connections files, On the right side, guess what's going to be there? There's my survey results in the top right. All the activities I am working on are right there also. So all the stuff that I'm gathering for this project, I can also see right inside my Lotus Notes client without ever having to leave it. So that's what's right there. The survey results and the Cognos report are in my Lotus Notes email. Well, I happen to see there's an email here from Samantha Darren, and they say they have 1,000 trainers for golf swing trainers sitting in the warehouse, and she has no idea what to do with them. Now, I'm in sales. I got an idea. One product's not selling. I got too many of another product. What do? Bundle it. Give something away, right? Make the value seem make a value right there. So what I'm going to do is, and I missed that there, so let's go back. So basically, I look at this email and I say, wow, that's really pretty cool. I want to include that to the team. So wouldn't it be great if I could just drag that email right inside Lotus Notes and add it to my activity? So now everyone associated with that project now has the email, the Cognos report, and my survey data just that easily by dragging and dropping it in there. So my question for Samantha is, hey, maybe we should give these away. So what I want to do, I want to do some real-time interaction with Samantha and kind of bounce off this idea. But, you know, I'm in Orlando here, and she happens to be in Dallas or something. So I'm going to start chatting with her about her 1,000 trainers. So basically, I start chit-chatting with Samantha, and I say, here's my brilliant idea. Everyone that buys the Hailstorm irons will get a free trainer. Trust me, PR will be great. People will start liking it because they get something for free. If they start practicing more, they might actually like the club more. So I start asking, saying, I saw your note. And then, you know, I think we should have a marketing campaign. We should give them away. But what I'd like to do then is add this text. How many people have ever instant messaged with somebody, copy and pasted the instant message out, saved it in a file so I could reuse it later? No, you instant message somebody, go, I'll remember that. Click, delete, 2 weeks later, like, oh man, what did I talk to Bryan about again? No idea. Wouldn't it be great if this transient data of instant messaging could be gathered and saved by the project? So again, right built into our technology here in Notes, I can just say add this instant message right to that same campaign, and voila, on the right side is a chat with Frank Adams and Samantha Darren that Heather Reeds now can view. So when Heather goes into the activity, she can actually see that exact interchange. So I'm not lost that transient knowledge. I'm sharing it and reusing it with my team. Just for kicks, because I like to show a lot of features, everything we've talked about so far is connections and IBM products, but you know what? I can also, inside Lotus Notes, I can have all my SharePoint documents shown on the right side. So this is a business partner of ours called Harmony, and those are all documents being surfaced up from SharePoint. So again, I'm doing some wild stuff here from my Notes client. But let's drift. For the people that have not signed up for Verse yet, which I know is just a timing thing, and you still might be using Microsoft Outlook and Exchange, how do I help those people? We got a solution for you. Everything I showed you, I can also do in Microsoft Outlook. So this is Microsoft Outlook. If that happens to be your employees where they view their world, guess what? I can now have a plugin on the right side here, and I can now say I can chat with people just as I chatted with Samantha Darren. I can chat right from Microsoft Outlook. So I can do those kind of meetings. I can also, on the right side, bring up all of my files from this Outlook. So on the top, there's my survey results, right from Microsoft Outlook. I can see those files I created. I can also look at updates, so the activity streams and all the things that are happening. So remember, working on marketing of Hailstorm irons, remember I did that status update? Everyone in Outlook can also see those status updates. I can also do expertise location and look up Heather Reed's profile right from Outlook and find out that she's a marketing presentation and all the cool things she does right from Outlook. Wherever your employees' eyes are is where they want to see that information. We make it available in all the different places for you. So here's that exact same email, but this time I used Exchange and Outlook saying we have 1,000 trainers. Guess what I can do to that email? I can add it to the activity just that easily. So I'm in Outlook. I want to take an email from Outlook and add it to my activity or project. I click a button. I pick the marketing of Hailstorm irons. Voila. I then click Upload, and that now email will be part of that project. That's pretty powerful. Because this is, again, Microsoft Outlook and Exchange that I'm now integrating with your intranet and all the stuff I talked about earlier. So again, I tag it and do all that fun stuff, and voila, that email is now part of it. And we can actually, what was I going to show next here? Oh, we now go back to Lotus Notes, and I go back to that activity, guess what I'm now going to see? Something you've never thought you'd ever see in your life. If I refresh that, I actually see a Microsoft Exchange email sitting inside my sidebar of Lotus Notes. Because again, we don't care what the content is. We're gathering up that knowledge so that our team can actually execute on that. Now, we're going to take that one step further because, again, a lot of us are mobile, especially sales teams are all mobile. So now, if we go back to our mobile device here, remember we were looking at Heather Reed's before, I can now bring up that exact same activity inside my mobile device. I can now go up there and voila, there's that activity for marketing of hailstorms. And if you notice, Bryan and I were working late last night building this demos at 11 o'clock, midnight. Voila, there actually is all of the content that we just gathered in the last 5 minutes. We started off with, on the bottom, the Cognos Insight Report showing the sales are not doing very well. We then added the survey results, second from the bottom. We then added the Lotus Notes email saying, here's some information from Samantha Darren. The next thing was chat with Frank Adams. So again, I added that. And oh, by the way, in the top was a Microsoft Exchange email, all gathered, viewable on my iPhone with the existing out-of-the-box technology that we've implemented at Greenwell Sports. So I think that's some pretty cool stuff because, voila, I can actually dig into these emails, dig into this stuff. And the powerful thing becomes this, though. I've gathered this knowledge. Heather and I are working really on it. And, sir, I'll pick on you. What's your name? Juan. We decide Juan is the key person. He's the one that's going to make this marketing plan really sail for us. How do you think I catch Juan up? Do I send him an email saying, here's the attached spreadsheet, here's the URL link? I add Juan to the activity. He gets all this stuff instantly. He's caught up instantly. I now want to add you. I'm going to add you. What's your name? What was that? Oh, my God, it's early in the morning for that. Kind of? Reinhardt. So Reinhardt's the next guy. I add him to the activity. Now the four of us are in the boat rowing together, sharing our intellectual capital. All I did was click one button. Now he sees all this knowledge. He starts adding his expertise to the activity. What happens to Juan? He sees it instantly. Did Juan have to ask for it? It's just automatically pushed to him on his mobile device, in his Lotus Notes client, in his Verse client, inside his Outlook client, or via a web browser. We've covered all of the bases. To end with, though, sales. The salespeople got to keep them happy. So what we've done is we've also partnered with our Cognos brand, and I can take that exact same sales report and take it to the next level. So he's actually on his phone, and I need to really dig into these sales numbers. We can actually take all that Cognos sales data with the Cognos app you can download for free, and that salesperson now can start drilling into all of the data. So if you start looking at it, these are sales things. I was told 100% this is how salespeople work. They like tiles and grids. You click on it, and they like bubbles. But anyway, a salesperson now views all of this sales data so they can start figuring out what they're going to do to fix the hailstorm problem. And because, you know, I am the non-technical guy and Bryan is really the technical guy, we're now going to switch gears because I'm going to wash my hands with this because Bryan's actually going to have to fix it. He's going to have to do something to make this so the Hailstorm Irons has a much better view that's out there. My job was to show you how easy and powerful it was for Frank to find a problem, gather information, more importantly, gather bodies, bring it all together in one spot, and then create a plan for someone else to execute, which is Bryan. So if this all works, this should end. And now Bryan's going to take you through the next part of how you actually execute on the plan to save the Hailstorm Irons.
Okay, thanks, Mark. So as we're getting close to wrapping up here, what I'm going to be showing you is some of these action items. We've looked and analyzed the data. What can we do to improve the Hailstorm Iron sales on the site? And what you're going to be seeing is we're doing a couple of things. One, we're going to want to increase the awareness of the Hailstorm Iron on the site. We're going to also want to create a new inbound campaign to help with those conversion rates. If somebody's looking at the iron, we want to give them those free swingers, so hopefully they'll buy the clubs and buy the package. And third, for those individuals that might have looked at the site and had left, such as Harry in the first part of the demo, we want to create another campaign to attract them back. Right? So I'll show you how we could do all of these things, and I'll show it to you in 10 minutes, right? So to begin with, the first thing is we're back on the site. And some things to keep in mind: outbound campaigns, inbound campaigns, creating additional awareness on the site. Think how easy and quick it can be. Easy and powerful, right? That's the key terms here. And one way of creating some additional awareness is to update that expert advice. let's add some expert advice so it's focusing mainly on these hailstorm irons. How can you do that? How can we do that? The first way is really just editing this content. It's actually content coming from our connection server. It's social content being surfaced up through the digital data connector, or DDC. You might have heard that term before. And in fact, what the DDC allows us to do is pull information, in this case social information, from a back-end system such as connections, and treat it as content. And just through simple configuration, we can control what's shown and how it's shown. It's just a matter of filling out this form. You can see in this form, we can choose to limit what's shown based on specific communities. In this case, we're just going to leave the community alone. It's already dedicated to a golfing community. But what we're going to do next is take a look at maybe some of the other ways of helping narrow the data down. You could do things such as searching for hailstorm irons. You could do things such as searching for a specific tag. And you know what? Let's go ahead and do that. Let's change the tag, because everything can be tagged in the system, to hailstorm. And once we've changed the tag to hailstorm and saved it, and of course gone through an approval process, you'll notice all the expert advice, all the knowledge that's coming through on our front page is now not just general golf information, but tailored towards those hailstorm irons. Again, increasing some of the exposure that the user will see. But let's not just stop there. Let's add some additional sizzle to the site. Maybe let's add some rich media to the site, some videos. But the site looks pretty full already, right? Where are we going to fit that in, and how can we do that? How can we adjust the layout? It's actually pretty easy with the new layout editor tools. You might have seen this in the OGS demo that was done on Monday. They showed it pretty quick. Just through going into the edit mode of the layout editor, now just through simple clicks, you could visually adjust the placement of those components or portlets on the page. And by the way, all those visual adjustments, I'm adding another container, is fully responsive. So I don't have to worry about the fact of, is it going to look good on a mobile device? It's automatically set up to be responsive and fluid no matter what I'm adding onto the page. How do I add something onto the page? It's actually, again, very easy and powerful. Being able to browse our content toolbar. And in this case, we're going to choose to add a video. You can drag and drop the videos onto the page. Where do the videos come from? They can come from any number of different types of service providers. In this case, we're using the videos coming from Brightcove, so it's streaming over the CDN. So you'll see we're just going to add the video. And once we've added the video, how do we choose what to show? Do you have to go and try to worry about, do I find it and copy and paste it, or how do I do that? No. You actually just browse a video library. So that we're seeing a default one here. It's showing a bird. That doesn't really make sense for a hailstorm iron, right? So let's go ahead and browse our video library. And Frank, it's pretty easy for him, right? He's browsing it. He could set cue points. He could control when the video is going to start and stop. If he needs to upload a new video, he can choose to upload a new video. And guess what? All those little technical hurdles of managing, is this an MP4 or QuickTime or AVI? Do I have to have high def, low def? Is it going to show on my Mac or iPad or smartphone? I don't have to worry about all of that stuff. You just upload it, it'll automatically transcode it, and automatically shows for me. And by the way, editing content, something very simple, just to change the title. It's all truly inline. Just type in it, click on it, and it automatically gets updated. Right? So in a matter of just 4 minutes, we've gone and updated some of the site, increased the awareness of the hailstorm irons. We've adjusted the layout. We've added some rich media. And you can see I'm even using some of the new tools to check the responsiveness of my layout, to verify how is it going to look as the real estate of the screen changes. It's a quick and easy. Now, the second thing that we're going to be doing, now that we've done some work to increase the awareness of the hailstorm irons on the site, is how are we going to handle inbound campaigns? How are we going to handle those new swing trainers? So the whole idea being, if somebody's going to go on my site, and if they're going to look at the specific product, and they seem to be navigating away from it, I want to all of a sudden show them, maybe in that white spot there, hey, don't leave yet. We'll give you a free trainer if you go ahead and start making that purchase, and maybe entice them. So what's involved there? We have a campaign management tool. You guys might be familiar with this or might have seen it. It's a very powerful omni-channel tool. So it's not just controlling campaigns based on the site. We could actually link up to call centers, profile information that we know about the user. So it's really collecting everything you know about that user and making decisions on what to show. I'm not going to go into too much detail on it, but basically what I wanted to point out was that we have a concept of events. So as the user is browsing the site, the portal could send events back to the campaign management tool. Those events can be captured, and we could visually create a flow chart to determine, based on what the user is doing, he's going to fall into one of these different buckets or one of these different segments. And we've created a campaign on what we're going to do. This user is looking at this specific product. I know they're interested in this product. I want to show them this promotion. So I've defined my campaign. The last thing you need to do is just drop that campaign spot onto the page and tell that campaign spot, I want to run this campaign. I want to start showing and collecting information about users. So that's actually done by just dragging and dropping this component onto the page. Again, quick and easy and powerful, right? Of course, you're probably wondering, well, what is that invalid interaction point? What does that mean? Well, I have to configure it. I have to tell it what campaign do I want to run, and I'll go ahead and do that and type in Greenville Sports. Let's go ahead and save it. And just for the sake of time, I'll just jump ahead a little bit here. And what I wanted to show you was that as we clicked, maybe we're looking at the gloves. And when we go back to the site, do you see what happens? Nothing. Why? Because that's not what the campaign is, right? We want to see that they're looking at the Lady Hailstorm irons. And what's going on here is now the fact that I'm looking at this page, it's firing an event over to the campaign server. That event is being captured, and you see how the promotion is showing up now. Something that's quick and easy and fairly powerful and can help with those conversion rates. Now, what happens to users? That's fine for users that have gone to the site, inbound traffic, and has been browsing and looked at the site. But what about some of those other users like Harry that was accessing the site before and might have left? How do we attract them back to the site? A couple of different ways of doing that. We could update our postings on those social channels, because that's where Harry first came into us for the first time on Facebook, right? The second way is to use something such as email campaigns. In addition to sending those events to the campaign management server, we could track who was actually looking at that stuff and build our own contact list. So instead of sending an email out to thousands of folks, I could send it out to specific targeted users. I know these users were looking at the Lady Hailstorm irons. Now what's pretty neat here is this email that I'm visually building. Look what happens. I want to insert some content. I'm going to literally browse my content repository. Because one of the key aspects is making everything consistent. So when the user gets this email, hopefully it's going to look somewhat visually consistent and remind them, hey, I was looking at this yesterday, and let me go back to the site. So I just browse my content repository, choose that same content that was on the front page, go ahead and save and insert it into the email. And once I save and insert it into the email, I can start to preview it, verify it looks okay. And there it is. Remember, that was what was on the front page on the WCM site? Perfect example of how I could create content one time, target it one time, it goes out onto different channels, whether it's a site on the web browser or email. And I just go through the process here of sending out the email. It looks like my email's ranked as good, not the best, but it was good enough for the demo. And what ends up happening is it's going to send that mail out to all the individuals that was looking at that specific product. And this is an example. I'm just looking at the email in verse. This is what the email will get. As you can imagine, they can go ahead and click on one of the products. It takes them straight back to the site, and they'll see those promotions that we just configured as well. All right, so think about a couple of things that was done there to take actions upon what Mark had done. One, we increased the exposure. I quickly demonstrated how you could use tools such as a digital data connector, the DDC, to control what content is being surfaced up onto the site. I showed you how you could add or enhance your site with rich media how easy it was to adjust the layouts. It's still responsive with the layout editor tool and dragging and dropping and adjusting your video. I showed you how you could create inbound campaigns using a campaign management tool so that you can track through events what the user's looking at and respond based on their interactions with the site. And lastly, I showed outbound campaign where we were sending emails out, not just any email out to everybody, but just a targeted specific set of users. And more importantly, we were reusing the content that was previously created for the site. So Mark, you want to wrap it up? And
Yep.
we have getting close to the...
So when we were building this, I went to Bryan, and I go, Bryan, in our demo flow, we should do some email campaigns. I think we should do some personalized campaigns. I think we should track things. And I started throwing all these things out, and he went, we can do that. We can do that. We can do that. How many people think Bryan did a good job this morning showing all that cool stuff? I thought he did an excellent job showing all that integration that we have inside our products. Okay, so let's go back now and talk about where we started. We talked about customers doing a survey saying, what do we need in our business? So hopefully we showed you today from creating content, pushing it to social media sites, linking those sites back to your product sites for that brand loyalty. Bryan showed you all the cool stuff for personalizing and pushing content to really make that customer feel hugged and loved. We also talked about support with some of the same time integration for the chat advisor. We hopefully heavily went into social analytics. How do I track my sales, social sentiment, build that into a usable format for my employees, and then how we can use some of our social tools to act on all of that. And we're disconnecting from the network, but that's okay. Yeah. Thanks, Bryan. And then hopefully the whole point of this is if you give the intellectual capital to your employees and you do the right things, you're going to increase sales. And hopefully we showed it to you. It looked pretty easy. From what I saw, it looked really easy, but the powerfulness of this for your business can be life-changing. And that's what Carnegie kept talking about. The only irreplaceable capital an organization has is the knowledge of its people. And hopefully today we showed you that we can empower your employees with this technology to take your company to where it's never gone before. Okay, enjoy the rest of the conference. Bryan and I will be up here for any questions afterwards, and safe travels back home when you're all done. Thank you very much.